Otto Peterson.
Hi, Jackie.
Otto playing the Stress Factory tonight, right?
Yeah,
it starts
for that
up.
stretched out midget, Vinnie Brand.
Hi, Otto.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Jim.
You got shows tonight, 2 tomorrow, 2 Friday, sorry, and wait, what day is today? Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Jesus, this week's flying by.
I'm supposed to be judging a Halloween costume thing or something.
At the Stress Factory, he's making you do that, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it'd be
It's not
fun.
good enough that
him
you
win.
You know it's not fun.
It's not fun?
No, you know it's not going to be fun.
Maybe I get
Then he's
bribed.
forcing you to do it.
Yeah.
It should be good enough that you're providing all the laughs for people. Let someone else do the fucking.
And I'm a
that makes
special
awesome
event.
contest.
You're counting on one whore being dressed as a French maid. That's what you're counting on.
Yeah,
right?
something.
You can
Yeah,
put up
it's
with all
gonna
the
be
clowns and the rodeo guys.
Otto, what are you on, the lamb?
What do you
You
mean?
got your passport in your pocket.
I
Was
don't-
it really?
I don't like it
You
to
never
get crumpled.
know.
It might, yeah, I know. I might fucking pull a Scott Peterson and just leave.
Why do you have a
get the hell out of here?
To get in the fucking building.
Oh, you don't have a driver's license?
I don't drive. I'm a non-driver.
right,
I'm a
okay.
non-driver.
When was the last time you
New Yorker.
drove a car?
I've never driven a car.
Oh, that's right. We've done
Wow,
this.
that's kind of cool.
I forgot
though.
about this.
Is it?
Have you? You never even tried like with a
I picture
friend?
myself driving on the Pacific Coast Highway with a convertible, and it's like a movie scene. It's like I'd like to drive before I die.
I picture you
me
driving
wait.
Jane Mansfield.
How do you go through life without
exist?
driving?
How do you?
Subways, walk
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot.
But where'd you grow up?
In Staten Island.
But Staten Island, you need to kind of
I would
drive,
take
right?
the bus to the ferry and then a
Oh,
subway.
it's exhausting.
Yeah, it was a
God.
90-minute to get to Times Square from where I live.
Hold on. Oh, that's a tough thing to wrap your brain around. We're
It
making
is.
light of it,
It
but
is.
never drove a car. That doesn't mean he stopped driving a year
Yeah.
ago. This
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't 1910. This is
And
2010.
How,
It's kinda crazy.
like
Wow.
what was the reason? Like everybody had a
I
friend.
have a pogo stick. It gets me ready to go.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
What
was
is the
there any
reason?
reason?
Never's a big word. Like, I've never
Yeah.
sucked a cock.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're both missing out.
Never.
I just wasn't interested at that time. I was very wrapped up in my act and doing street shows, and I just got around like that. Yeah, most kids at 15, that's all they wanted to do was get their first car.
drive.
I couldn't
yeah,
wait
that
to
was
drive.
A, that was a
I
big
just
thing.
wanted
Yeah.
to hang out with magicians and
the
street
fuck out of the
performers,
house.
and yeah.
That's amazing. George drives though, right?
George is driving. Around.
I got to ask a stupid question.
Yes.
Did you ever get laid in a car?
I made out in a car. Probably a hand job. It's really not.
Yeah, but that's where you got your
intercourse.
action when you were younger. Where else are you going to go? But you get your
Yeah.
car and you go drive
Hotel
somewhere
rooms.
else.
I lived in
I didn't have
residential
money for
hotels.
hotel rooms when I was 16,
like
I
17.
did. I had money.
Yeah.
I was making money. I was
Yeah.
making $200 a day on the street.
Jesus.
That's because he wasn't driving.
I've known Jackie. We go back to the
A zillion years.
What? Mid '70s, late '70s.
Well, I didn't
The
start
Rainy
till
Night
like
House.
70 years. The Rainy Night House,
The
1979.
Rainy Night House in Queens on what was that? Union
Turnpike.
And 200.
I remember sitting there and watching this guy, and I said, "There's not a funny bone in this guy's body." And then the next time I came back, I said, "This guy, he's a little funnier now." And it was fucking Paul Reiser.
Oh.
He wasn't even a little bit. But
Yeah.
Wait,
the
wait, you
first-
can't just jump past that.
No. He
Reiser just wasn't funny?
But he probably was. I just wasn't sophisticated.
Yeah.
Like he was up there just, rambling. And I'm
one
like,
of those guys.
where the fuck are the jokes?
Eddie
And then
Murphy.
like 6
Where are
months
the
later, he
jokes?
was funny. The first time I saw you, and I had, God damn it, I haven't thought about this in 20 years. And I had it on a micro cassette, and I don't know what happened to it. He looked like he'd be interesting, so I turned on the micro cassette to, for whatever reason, because I'm sitting with Rob Bartlett, and we're sitting there, and I had never seen Otto before, so I don't know his act from Adam, right? And neither at Bartlett. This is in the very, very beginning,
Or Jay Moore.
1979. So fucking Otto gets up there, so you don't know what's part of somebody's act and what isn't. And there's an Asian girl sitting right in front of him.
Oh no!
And I don't know this is a mainstay of his act, so me and Bartlett were going to quit comedy that night because we thought this is off the top of his head, and it turns out his main thing. But he goes up there with the fucking dummy, and we're already peeing, and he goes, blah, 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 and all of a sudden he just takes George and pushes George's face nose to nose in front of the girl and says, "Excuse me, miss, are my fucking shirts ready?" And I'm telling you, on this micro cassette, you can hear me and Bartlett gasping for fucking air. And but it's something he's been saying forever. And I thought it was just off the top of his. Oh my God! We said we got to get out of comedy, and I've been laughing at him ever. He's just one of the funniest.
I just don't go for the salty talk.
Oh yeah.
I don't go for that salty, peppering in that salty language. I don't care for that.
I had to do some fucking phoning yesterday. This guy was really on my nerves. He was like, he was wanting me to do jokes about Greg Giraldo, and he's like saying, well, what do I feel about gays in the military? I go, I don't know. There's a war going on. What do you want, bits from me?
Yeah,
maybe I was cranky.
What show is that?
Just some fucking stupid internet thing. Just couldn't. I'm so much more comfortable with you guys.
What do you want to joke about Giraldo? I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's off limits. I mean, he was a comic, but I mean, you know.
What
What's
were
funny
they
about
trying to
that?
get
It was a
at?
terrible thing. I don't know.
Let's go back to you being comfortable. You don't
Yeah.
seem very comfortable to me.
I don't. We're doing a roast for
Florentine, yes.
Tuesday, and the money's going to go to the
Greg's
surviving-
kids.
Yeah.
Next Tuesday,
That's a great
comics.
cause.
Yeah.
At comics. Who else is on it? I'm on it. You're on it.
Everybody. I saw
Yeah,
the lineup. It's
Florentine,
everyone you know.
Jameson,
Oh, is that going to
Bobby
be
Boss.
a bash fest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Just
guys
be
know
mean.
him too well.
Just be mean as possible, right?
Yeah.
Roast, yeah.
You lived with him for
3 years.
3 years, so
Yeah. Fuck your mother.
Yeah. This cunt.
Leaving it, boy.
Yeah.
I lived with him for 3 years.
3 years in that shithole, moldy fucking apartment.
Got me my first paid gig in comedy. I love Florentine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
So me and Jackie were in Comedy's Dirtiest Dozen and The Aristocrats and a thing called Rules for Men. That's 3 films, fucking
Look at us.
underground.
Movie star.
Yeah, just
The Aristocrats is
Yeah,
a great
yeah.
flick,
Yeah.
man. I
Yeah.
love that one.
Great fun.
I never knew it was going to get released. I thought we was just crapping around.
Nobody,
with a camcorder.
nobody knew.
Yeah.
No, you know, they came into your apartment with a camera, like,
Yeah.
hey, you know.
Yeah, talk about this.
Professor
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I got to put you in this movie because you told me the joke 30
Yeah.
years ago."
Yeah,
I'm
The
like,
Aristocrats was great.
I didn't even tell a joke. You know,
Yeah.
I just fucked around and talked and told a few jokes.
I
and-
was against it. I'm not really a joke teller, and I don't find that joke that hilarious. But he convinced me to do it because he said all the A-list stars were in it. And,
it was a whole goof. It was a whole fun thing.
Yeah.
Because it was a fun thing to fuck around with a million years ago. And in the movie, I actually recreated what I decided I was going to quit stand up on the road because I thought I had a chance of doing more on the Stern Show. And I was working 2 days a week, and Nancy said, "Just stop going on the road, and you'll be available." And when I quit going on the road, then I was available to be there 5 days a week. And when I'd made the decision, I was at Zany's in Nashville, and I said, "This is my last week. I'm not fucking coming out on the road anymore." So I got so drunk, and I was telling the joke to somebody, and when I got to the punchline, I literally ran and slid on my belly, you know, in the shit and the diarrhea, you know. And I recreated that, but it was so much fun to tell that joke, and they didn't go to the interesting part of that was the guy Legman with the big thick book that they talked about.
Oh, yeah.
His premise was that you are defined by what you find funny, which is a real interesting premise. And he had 2 huge joke books. He was a big collector. He was a madman. And the last joke on the last page was The Aristocrats, and I had been telling that joke for years before I discovered that was the last joke.
Because that movie hasn't been out in a while. Could you bring in the audience a little more? It's an old vaudeville joke, basically.
It's just a ridiculous show, and I laughed at the wrong thing for years.
The wrong thing?
Let me just say, so
Yeah, go ahead.
So the bottom line is, here's this Aristocrats joke that's my favorite joke that I've been telling to people, and this is like 1980. And here it is. And he says, the following joke was told to me by a guy who was raised in squalor by 2 battling parents, but they stayed together for 40 years battling for the good of the children. And I'm like, they just described my motherfucking childhood, and this is my favorite joke. It's completely, you know, it made what his premise absolutely on the money. And in the movie The Aristocrats, that the old magician told the Gershon Legman version of the joke, which was much shorter. And I think if it gets too long, it gets lost and gets crazy. But the bottom line is, a guy, when I tell this joke, they said it in The Aristocrats, when I tell this joke, I say that the guy goes to a low-level show business agent. And I say, when I tell this joke, I always picture Joe Franklin's office. And in the movie, they actually cut to Joe Franklin's office.
Joe Franklin.
And what's so funny is Joe Franklin had an office where you could hardly walk in because it's all full of crap.
I know.
And then he moved. And I'm like, how could they possibly move? And he moved to a different place.
He's a hoarder.
It's exactly the same.
time.
They moved all that crap, right? But the guy goes and says, this is for the audience, so they hear the joke. He says, like, you want to tell it? You don't want to. You don't like that.
No, I can't.
The guy,
I got other stuff here.
the guy goes to a show business agent and he says, I got an act. I'd like you to look at the act. And the guy says, well, there's no room here in my office. Come out in the hall. So they go out in the hall. And he stands there, and the guy goes around the corner. He comes back around the corner. He goes, and he takes out his dick and starts whacking his dick. And he goes back around the corner. All of a sudden, he comes back around the corner with his wife. He's got his dick, and then all of a sudden, he rips off her blouse and starts playing with her tits, and he's playing with his dick. You know, and he goes back around the corner. And then all of a sudden, he comes around the corner, and he's got his mother and his father with him, you know. And he comes out, and they're French kissing and making out, and his father starts fingering his mother, and he's jacking off, and he's playing with his wife. Just and all of a sudden, they go back around, and then they come back around, and it's the grandmother and the mother, and it's the guy and his wife, and they're all naked, and the kids come out, and the guy takes his shit, and then takes his son and pushes his son's face in the shit, and then pisses on the back of his son's head, and his sister starts playing, and they're all waddling in the shit, and all of a sudden they go, da! He says, the agent, what do you think? And the agent says, well, it's different. He says, what do you call yourself? And he says, the aristocrats. Which is just stupid. It's so fucking hard.
Stupid.
But they get into the whole thing with, you know, kids dying and everything. You know.
Well, the joke is told differently by a million different guys. That's the key to the joke. With the punchline being the same every time.
It's very long. It has a dynamic, though, where you'll be like, all right, where's he going? But then the longer it gets after that, it gets funny again.
It's like a Shaggy Dog story. It's
so,
like, how much patience are you know, how much are you going to invest with somebody?
Are
you on a car ride where you want to eat up a half hour? You know?
Right.
It's well done. The documentary on the joke.
Because I think Gilbert's was really fucking twisted.
Oh, man.
He really went off on it.
And then he's
like,
fucking the boy.
It's got like,
Gilbert's performance was awesome in that. It was great.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't he like the first? What's wrong, Jimmy? Jimmy's great.
Jimmy, what did I do?
Otto just makes me laugh.
What's wrong?
Because I don't think you remember the magician before. When Jackie said, like, the magician, I went, oh.
He's just agreeing.
It was just, I had no concept of who the magician was.
No. Get along in society.
Catch up later. You know,
was just,
process it later.
Oh, that was such a great.
Trying to get along in society.
He's comfortable here.
Yeah, very comfortable.
Jimmy just doesn't believe a fucking thing I say.
I just love.
When I
love.
used to promise dinners with people. Yeah, we'll have dinner.
So many. He's the greatest dismisser of things. Hey, I really love you. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Before they were finished, he's nodding and dismissing them.
I feel more comfortable with scorn than praise. I don't know what's coming next. When somebody praises me, it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't know how to react.
Yeah, it's
At
all right,
times it's just like, yeah,
it's
thanks.
Smothering. It's like,
oh, thank
creepy,
you,
yeah.
thank you.
Or
And then
just say, good. I really enjoyed your stuff, and then just leave me alone.
Yeah, because the multiple compliment is very uncomfortable because you got to go,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
thank you,
Oh,
thank you.
God.
You go, thank you. And then it's something else, and you go, oh, no, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Not that it happens all the time, believe me.
Starts to water it down.
Yeah. It's
I
like,
know.
after a while, you're just like, shut the fuck up.
I really appreciate the concise compliment, and then just leave me alone, move on.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
make
because so
space.
often somebody will say, you were so great. I really loved you. Thank you. You know, it was really good.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
right. Except for, you know, and then all of a sudden they get to but this.
The real reason why they're talking to you.
Or else they'll say you left out my favorite joke, and you just had what you consider a great set, and then they'll fucking say, well, you didn't do the one thing that I came here to hear. I'm sorry, I fucking ruined your night.
Asshole.
And I turn the sound back on and go up.
do the one joke for you.
So long ago in the Fort Lauderdale comic strip, we used to, everybody was the same. It's in like 79 and 80, there was no, in the very beginning, there was no headliner and middle and opening act. There was three guys did a show at the comic strip in Fort Lauderdale, and we do the show.
Oh, Joe
and we
Balazzo's?
No, this is Joe Mullen, long before
okay.
Balazzo said
Oh,
it.
Joe Mullen, yeah. Bob Woods used to always talk about that Mullen character.
Joe Mullen was the all-time great guy. He's the guy that threw the guy out and then threw his wheelchair out on top of him.
Oh.
And he's
Mr. Compassion. Wow. Did he really?
the fucking stories about the guy. But we get done with the show, and we'd be sitting in the bar, the three comics, and the people would be filtering out. And it was always so fucking uncomfortably great, because you'd be sitting there, and people always would like one guy or two guys, and maybe not all three, and they go, oh, you were so great. Oh, you were so great. And then look at you. And sometimes they'd love me, and sometimes guys, they like the other two guys, and I'd be too dirty, and they'd like look at me and just
They
so
walk
fucking
by, and you're all
so
dejected.
uncomfortable, man.
Compliment the other two and then just stare you
stare
like
at you and walk.
you're a lump. Oh God, that's fucking
Lump of
rude.
shit.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you stunk.
But a lot of times they just don't recognize me because they were watching the puppet. But I'll take it personally, like they won't even know that I was just on stage.
I remember one time we were in
They stare at George.
Me and Otto were in the parking lot one time in Delaware. And we actually hooked up with girls at that gig. I remember with Wendy and the other chick. And
Yeah,
the
remember
hot
the
tubs.
names?
Yeah. It's the only time me and Otto ever fucking hooked up with chicks
I
together.
was just to say,
But we're in
Must
the,
have been good.
1988.
we were in the parking lot, and this girl comes up to us, and she had there was something wrong with her head. Because her fucking, literally, her hairline started almost in the middle of her skull. She had like a fucking, almost a Neanderthal ridge.
Too much fucking forehead.
Oh, she was terrible.
wow.
It was a drive-in movie.
But we were. She came up and she goes, "I liked to me." She goes, "I liked you a lot. You were really funny." And I don't think she knew.
Oh, no.
And she goes, "I liked you better than the headliner." But she liked that, but she goes, "He was just too dirty. I think he's more of a guy's cum." And I forget what she said to you. And you said, "Well, I kind of like you too, except for your forehead. It was too big." and she took her palm and she palmed Otto in the forehead.
Did you fuck her?
No.
Yeah, you didn't have a car.
Exactly. We were gonna fuck her.
We did pick up girls, and we were in the girl had talked about her grandfather committing suicide, and he had jumped out a window, and it was
Couple
very
of
sad.
winners.
Yeah.
So we're in her kitchen, and we're getting ready to go in the jacuzzi, and there's a picture of an old man on the refrigerator, and Otto goes, "Hey, is this the one who tossed himself out the window?" It's one of my top 5 biggest laughs ever.
And you
This is
still
the
got
one who tossed himself out the window.
And you guys still got action after that?
Dude,
that's pretty amazing.
I think he,
We fooled around, but we fooled around with him in the jacuzzi, and I was doing a lot better than he was. And he goes, "Look at those two. They're like Melrose Place," and we're like Meet the Press. He was on fucking fire that night.
It was more fun making you laugh than trying to get a nut.
Oh, did I fucking howl that night? It was the
Toss is the word.
Of course, is this the one who tossed himself out the window?
Oh, God.
What an excellent choice of a word.
Oh, God damn.
It was a short bereavement.
How do you guys pick up girls, and how does it get to? By the way,
How do you get laid
my
hanging out with a
father committed. My
ventriloquist?
grandfather
I know.
committed suicide.
I don't know how it got. I honestly don't remember the process. I wouldn't remember the night if it wasn't for those horrible moments. That's what made it memorable for me. Those terrible moments. They were like an hour south of fucking.
Was it a nice jacuzzi?
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
It was a pool. It was a pool,
Yeah,
jacuzzi.
I
Were
remember.
they in their underwear or naked or what?
I don't remember. I
do you not
don't
remember?
remember. Nah.
That I'd remember.
We were all in the jacuzzi, right? At some point, yeah.
I think so. And you guys were just chatting while me and her were fooling around.
You just
That was
wanted-
fucking.
Her name was Sheila, the girl I fooled around
Really?
with. Yep, I remember her
Sheila.
last name too. I don't say it. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
You know, Bob Woods was so huge.
Yeah.
He must have weighed like 350.
Another comic, obviously.
Yeah, but he used to get girls, and it was amazing
yeah.
because he was so gruff and so disgusting and so ornery. And that place, Mr. Rips upstate, you
Yeah.
know. So him and Jim Myers are up at this place, Mr. Rips. Myers, this was Myers' favorite story. And it's not even that great a story. It's just so odd. If you picture this huge man in the front seat with a girl, and Myers is in the back seat trying to fuck this girl, and all of a sudden, out of a clear blue sky, this 350-pound man says to the woman he's with, "Get your finger out of my asshole!" Myers couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe this huge man is lucky enough that a girl stuck her finger in, and he's yelling at him.
She must have a long finger.
I don't even know how she could have negotiated it. You know? Oh, it's so great.
Oh, fuck.
He was like
And you
Ralph
know him,
Cram-
you know
he was
it's
like
true.
Ralph Cramden in real life.
Yeah.
He was. He would blow his stack. He was hysterical.
You
He was
will,
hysterical.
you will believe this story.
Yeah.
You guys won't believe this story, but you will believe this story. He was so big that when he was in the front seat, in the passenger seat of my Volvo, he took up the entire area. And we're coming back from Mr. Rips, and he had so many problems, and he had a bottle of Heineken. And he's the kind of guy the cop would pull you over and he'd say, "Let's kick his ass," you know.
Yeah,
right.
So he's sitting there,
grab his gun,
and we're driving. Right, and we've gone to gigs for years, so we're done talking. We've talked about everything forever and ever now. So we're just driving and driving and driving. So we're on our way back from Mr. Rips, and Woods is sitting there with like a half a bottle of Heineken, and he's sitting there, and all of a sudden he starts to deeply sob,
really,
and freaking out, and he all of a sudden he's crying, and he hits the window to put the window down, and he pulls, but the window didn't go all the way down, and he throws the Heineken out the window, but the window isn't completely open, and the Heineken bottle bounces off the window and caroms around, but he's so fat and big that it lands, so it's still upright somewhere in some of the crevasse. He's sitting there, and a few minutes go by, and all of a sudden he starts giggling and laughing, and he grabs the Heineken bottle that's still got beer and takes a sip out of it. And he turns to me and says, "Sorry, pal." Went through the entire gamut of emotions. I was like, I almost jumped off the fucking road. It was an amazing play.
I assume he didn't make it.
No, he's gone. He's
What
gone.
did he die of? And I never knew his name.
You know
I knew who he was. I never met him.
He was a very, very big guy, and he was just a mess, and he collapsed on stage in Maryland, and they took him to the hospital and cut him open, and they just sent him back to his room to die. There was just, I guess it was just pleurisy.
There was too much stomach to cut through to get to whatever organ.
It was just really,
yeah.
What year was that? Like, it must have been early 90s?
89 or
something.
something.
Before I got into
I
college.
went from his wake to replacing him at some gig in Long Island. It was the hardest thing I ever did. I'd never been to a wake in my life, and it was so sad. It was just bizarre,
Yeah,
you know. And then having to go do a show, it was awful. We loved him. He was like he was the guy you always looked forward to doing a gig with. He'd laugh all the way there and all the way back.
The first night I ever worked with the gang, I had met Minervini and those guys, and they convinced me to come over to Dixon's White House Inn.
Yeah.
And went over to Dixon's White House Inn like in 1979, in the beginning of 1979. And Dixon had his face surgically changed to look like Richard M. Nixon, and
That's fucked up.
And he just was
What?
He was just.
Oh, I remember that
And he
guy,
had a place
yeah,
called
okay.
Richard M. Dixon's White House Inn, and he that was his place, and he had a variety show. The reason we wound up doing a comedy show on Long Island in Huntington at Cinnamon was that Dixon wouldn't pay us. He wouldn't give us any money. So they convinced me to come over. So I came over. And it's the first night I met Woods. And the only thing Dixon would give us was free booze. So here I am with Bob Woods with two drunks, and I'm meeting him for the first time. So we're sitting there at the bar long after the show's over, drinking and drinking. And Dixon's trying to get us, he wants us to leave. So Dixon takes a bus box, and he's going around, and he's cleaning up the tables, and I'm sitting there with Woods, and I said, "I think we got to go, Bob." He says, "Why?" I said, "I'm so drunk now the fucking bus boys are starting to look like Nixon." He said, "You're all right, pal." And we were best friends until he died. Best friends until he died.
Fuck.
Yeah, that was a bad idea, giving him a free liquor as opposed to a pay. I mean, he could do some damage.
Him and Hawthorne would drink so much. You remember Dave Hawthorne?
Yeah, Hawthorne, the Walrus. Man.
He'd grab his neck and go, "Walrus."
Fucking
And
Friedman, Silver Friedman at the Improv hated us because we would just be laughing. We didn't kiss her ass for spots, and we'd be laughing. She goes, "Can you guys keep it down?" And Woods is like, "It's a comedy club. I'm laughing." It's like, you have to laugh like a horse. And then he started. That set him off again for 10 minutes of laughs.
oh, he's just a fucking...
And she liked all those douchey little Paul Reiser kiss-ass comics that would fucking, suck up to her and do her little bidding. It was such a fucking douchey
Woods and
little club.
Hawthorne. The night I opened Governors, I was like, I walked in the men's room, and Woods quoted this for 10 years. I walked out and said, "Jesus fucking God, are you donkey smoking pot in the men's room?" They're smoking pot opening night in Governors. They're smoking pot in the men's room just to break my balls. They didn't want to get high. They just want to fuck with me,
Oh, man.
Here's God.
What a fucking world you guys live in.
Oh, he was a
Yeah, that
character.
movie Rider P.I. I mean, does that exist if somebody wanted to see who Woods was?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That
wow.
absolutely exists.
You could get that, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's on the
Rider
internet.
I
P.I.
remember hearing about that years
Stern,
ago.
Howard Stern's in it, and
Yeah,
every
yeah,
comic
yeah.
that was anything in that.
I was the
time.
voice of the fat dummy. There was a dummy that if you pulled the string, it insulted you so you wouldn't eat. But Jim Myers had a great story about that. Jim Myers was in the movie, and his kid was in the movie. His 7-year-old son was in the movie. So he said, "Jack, how often is this going to happen that I'm in a movie and my son is in the same movie? I got to go for it. So he rented himself a limousine to take himself to the screen. I was on the road, so I wasn't at the screening, but there was a screening at some theater in Long Island, and everybody went to it. And Myers said to me, the movie was so bad, he said it was worth the $150 for the limo to have tinted windows on the way. It's really, but it's a who's who. It's everybody you ever met. You know, Mulrooney and Minavini.
Mulrooney was the main star, right?
And Nelson, Bob Nelson.
Bob Nelson, right.
Wow.
Where's Klaus Myers? I haven't seen him in years.
Jim Myers out in Los Angeles.
Is he?
Mulrooney. That's the one we know, right?
John Mulrooney? Yeah.
John, yeah. We interviewed him years ago.
Yeah.
He looks like shit.
Gun nut. Is
he all right?
Oh, is it?
Well, yeah, he's okay. He does. He's
got radio now. He's in
shit.
radio now up in Albany again.
Yeah.
Oh, is he
he's
doing
in
radio
and out.
again?
Yeah, in and out.
Wait, is the same guy I'm thinking of?
Yeah, he's a funny guy, man.
Big
Real
Irish
funny
guy.
Very
yeah.
funny.
Very
Yeah.
great at crowd work.
Yeah,
Very
okay.
fast.
I did a police benefit with him, and I watched him do 45 minutes of crowd work with I've never seen anybody work an audience like
Yeah.
that. He was fucking brilliant, man.
Yeah, people, you see, his
Brilliant.
hours and hours of no material.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need it. He's
Very
unbelievable.
strong
He's
performer.
unbelievable. He's a good guy, a good character.
No, you never seen him?
No.
Yeah, another Pips act. Pips was, you
I
know,
think
you
you
had to
know
be good to
Mulrooney,
survive
yeah.
Pips. That crowd was just
Really
horrible.
brutal?
Oh, yeah. The Gleason's gym of comedy.
I worked at Pips. 20 years after I worked at Pips, I met Freddie Stoller.
Oh.
And you know Freddie Stoller, the skinny, you know, very low-key guy. I mean, he
So
came-
UFOs? Is that the guy who saw UFOs?
Fred Stoller, he
was on Seinfeld. Yeah, he's a-
Oh, I got a copy of that Pips thing that you did for Garvey.
Oh,
I was
really?
able to
The
hunt-
Last Laugh?
Yeah, with Woody Allen's in it and Danny
Oh,
Aiello.
oh, that was great fun.
Yeah, I'll burn a copy for you. I'm sure
I
you
would
don't
love
have
to see
one.
that.
Yeah, it's good.
I meet Fred Stoller, and Pips was a 2 6-pack ride from Oyster Bay. I was so drunk by the time I got there, so I go to work at Pips, and my first comedy album came out, you know, which was an exciting thing to have an LP, and I sold 5 albums for like, you know, $5 a piece or something like that. No, I sold 15 in the 2 shows. On the 2 nights, I sold 15 albums, which was an extra $75, and I probably made $50 or $100. So this was like double.
That's a big
I
night.
was like, holy shit, I'm going to make so much. I never sold 15 albums. To this day, I don't think I ever sold 15 CDs. But I must have been so excited. I must have done a good sell job. And they never had me back.
Really?
And they never had me back to Pips. And 20 years later, I meet Fred Stoller and goes, oh, yeah. He says, you're the guy they wouldn't have back to Pips because he drank too much. And I was like, what a badge. That fucking place was a hellhole of drugs and smack and coke. And I drank too
You
much.
drank too much.
For that
What a
place.
badge of honor to not be, you know, it's like you can't come in here, you're too crazy. Like, wow.
Who came up with you guys when you were doing Pips? Who else was
Richard Jenny was there a lot. Mulrooney, a guy named Rich Triola, still around.
That was even a little bit later, early.
Yeah.
Well, no, who the hell was...
Well, it was Rodney and those guys in the 60s. David Brenner was best friends with the owner, George Schultz, who came up.
Georgie Starr.
Yeah.
God, I remember.
And there was mafia guys everywhere around there. They killed the guy next door.
Really?
This guy, Frank Rubino, and his son,
Go figure.
Rocco, was murdered. And I was talking to him 10 minutes before they killed him.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
he was renovating the place, and he had
Holy
that white shit on the windows when they're,
Yeah.
when they're doing construction. He goes, yeah, Otto, I'm going to knock that wall down and put a fucking bottle over there. And then like 10 minutes later, my friend Andrew Lederer comes over to me. He goes, they just killed Rocco. and I go, I only walked like 10 steps. And
But
he's-
it's not a bit. This
yeah,
is,
no,
you know,
he had
holy
11
shit.
bullet holes in him, and the last one in his throat, and he was like foaming blood coming out of his, and he was dead. And then there was FBI was there all night writing down license plates and shit. And
Wow.
he left.
That's
so
fucked up.
Rocco and his father was named Frank Rubino, and he used to carry a hand grenade in his leather coat. He showed it to me.
hand grenade?
Yeah, he goes, everybody's got guns. I gotta fucking blow up my enemies.
Oh,
I went,
man.
oh man, he was a frightening guy.
What a nut.
And he was found in Coney Island a week later, beaten and his balls smashed with a hammer and shot in the head.
I guess
mean,
this
this was the
grenade
Wild
didn't.
West.
What happened with the grenade?
Someone took that.
Not a
No,
chance
they
to pull
got
the
the
pin.
jump
you're
on
beating
him.
the hell out of somebody, you know.
Yeah.
These were fucking scary people, man.
Wow.
And then there was the worst punch or best punch I ever saw was there was this guy, Fat Anthony, who was just kind of like the overseer of the block. He didn't work for any particular restaurant or anything. And it was like in the middle of the summer during the day, and it was this drunk Jewish guy who was just going into every business like with a Budweiser and just, flirting with the girls and just being a jerk, but not really out of line. And he was leaning on a car and drinking a bottle of Budweiser. Fat Anthony, his hand came from like Florida, and it was like the size of the screen, and he drove the bottle into his teeth, and the punch followed through, and it was just a sickening sight. And me and Mulrooney saw the whole thing. We went, Anthony's gonna do something. And
he punched the bottle into his teeth?
Yeah, but with a hand the size of a microwave oven. And then just bam, and then just collapsed on the ground, and nobody saw nothing. He just laid there.
And
the guy was never the same. We saw him like 6 months later, and he was like, just a fucking nervous tick.
Crazy neck of the woods.
What a punch. It was disgusting.
Fuck. Those are the old days where like you were constantly reading in the paper about, hey, Joey the horse,
the bottle
Rabini
exploded into dust. There was nothing left of it. It was just
the heyday
you wonder
of the
if these
mob,
places really existed, and there it is.
Well,
yeah.
Fat Anthony had enough of him and his fucking flirting with the girls.
Had enough of him.
That show that we did, that was great fun. They did a movie about doing a show to raise money to save a club, but they did the movie to raise money to save the club. It was kind of show within a show within a show. It was great. And at the end, they asked me to go up and tell some dirty jokes so they could shoot from the outside to run
credits
to run the credits on. Yeah, Colin Quinn was in it, and Woody Allen and Pat Cooper. Well, Pat Cooper's not in it. Because they shot him.
Big pussies in it.
Well, they shot Pat Cooper, and he stood there, and he worked to Woody Allen and Danny Aiello and broke balls and broke balls and broke balls. I said, all right, Pat, do it again and face us. He was like, I just did it. I just did it. I'm not going to do it again. Fuck you. I just did it. With Pat, we're making a movie. We got to do it.
The payoff is Woody Allen actually does stand-up like for the first time in forever. And it's just so cool to see him, just grab a mic and do anything.
And he watched us.
Yeah.
It was great. You know? Like Michael Green is cinematographer for the last 20 years is the reason they got Woody there. And plus he was good friends with Ray Garvey.
Garvey knew everybody.
And Michael Green went up and said, so Woody, what'd you think of Jackie? He said, he's very funny, but he's not my cup of tea.
Not his cup of tea.
I'll take that as some
Obviously,
kind
you're
of
not
compliment.
Asian.
Yeah, put Chinese glasses on.
Yeah, exactly.
Milk his Jew cock.
But what's so funny, I went up there and told jokes so they could run the credits, right? So I did like about 10 minutes of jokes, and while we're doing, I don't know if you remember, while we're finishing the show, more and more people showed up, and some of the guys from The Sopranos came walking in. And what's his name? Tony
played the clarinet nude with a lollipop in my asshole. I know, perfect Peter Lorre.
What's Tony's name?
Sirico?
Tony Sirico comes in.
Sure.
So I get off after doing 10 minutes of jokes, and I come over, and Sirico comes up to me and says, Jack, you're really fucking scary. I said, Sirico, you play the scariest guy maybe on television ever, and in real life you're even scarier.
Yeah.
And I told a few cock jokes. He said, no, you're really fucking scary. What a fucking oddball.
What did he mean by that?
Because my jokes were so dirty.
Oh.
He thought that was scary. I'm like, wow, what is your scale?
Yeah, that's not scary.
That's so funny. That was a fun thing. That was a great thing.
It's called The Last Laugh. My friend Glenn Miller got me a copy of it. It was just great seeing Pips again.
The musician?
No, not the band leader.
The band leader. Band leader.
Eight wives.
I heard about that.
Yeah. Get the hell out of here. Spitting corn on him.
Whatever happened to Fat Anthony?
I don't know. The neighborhood became more Russian, and when you go back there, I try and look for a familiar face, like when you go back to your old neighborhood and somebody you recognize. And I don't.
You recognize the Jew
there.
with the bottle in his mouth.
Yeah, he's still there.
There's a statue.
Still there.
What is Pips now? Is it still there?
It's
or no?
a sushi store. Yeah.
Does it look the same or no?
It's exactly the same. I walked in there and I just got creeped out and I left. It was like they kept raising the rent, and there was only so many seats, and they couldn't keep
50
raising
seats,
the cover.
right, or something?
Yeah, they couldn't keep raising the cover, and they couldn't keep raising the drink prices. It had to close, It was there.
That's
it was like
too
the
bad.
first comedy club ever in America,
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was like 1962.
I only worked there a few times, but it was a rough room.
62?
Definitely a rough
There weren't
room.
comedy clubs before 62? You had to be in theaters and stuff?
That and the Ice House in California opened like the same month, or there's like one of them open a week or two.
Oh, is
earlier.
that how close? They just had a huge anniversary of the Ice House.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I thought the
still
Ice
going.
House was like a recent incarnation. Not real recent, but
I heard that's a cake audience. That clubs won't take a tape that was filmed there because everybody that ever went on stage killed there.
Really?
I was just going to say I killed it.
I did okay. I didn't kill. I had a mediocre set.
Really?
No.
Oh, well. Oh, Jimmy.
Yeah.
You are to comedy what Flashdance was to welding.
We should take a quick break here, man. These guys, I love the stories. We got Jackie Martling in studio, Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club, Staten Island, one show Saturday, and also jokeland.com.
Jokeland.com.
And then we got Otto, who's just fucking killing. Otto's making Jimmy laugh, which is making me laugh. There's a whole weird thing going on here. Fucking Otto. And
There's
then
a subtext when he does not never laughs exactly what you're saying.
it's always something else.
Yeah,
which is fun.
Very
He
crafty.
writes his own tagline in his head and laughs at that.
exactly.
Otto's got the big gig at the Stress Factory, Vinny's Club in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Tonight through Saturday.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're both working for Vinny's.
I want to see that comp. I think that'd be worth it to go see the costume contest. I want to see you judge one of them.
Oh yeah,
Just so I know how painful that would be.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
not.
God.
You're not into that, Otto.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to say it.
Oh, let the puppet say something.
yeah, right. Put George on the phone.
Let George dress up.
Oh, and they kept trying to get me to say something bad about Dunham. You know, it's like, don't you hate Dunham?
What
No,
radio
he said-
show? What fucking cornball internet
The
show
club
is it?
set it up. The guy just called me at home on my cell phone and just, you know.
What show, man?
I don't know. He told me his name.
Find out from Vinny.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
find
it
out.
was some horrible
Why
internet
is Vinny
thing.
making you do internet fucking shows?
I have to pump business, I guess. I don't know.
He's got a nice house. He doesn't need to pump
Yeah.
business anymore.
Does he?
Opie and Anthony Show on the Virus, Sirius XM.
Not piss, but
We got to talk about this on the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony, we got to bring this up on the air. We got Jackie, the joke
Yes.
man in studio, and Otto and George. Well, just Otto. George is back home, I guess,
There's
right?
a story. I don't know if you told me or somebody told me about the gist of it is Jesus weed. Do you remember that story about getting pulled over and then having this like homegrown pot? Does that ring a bell?
That's
to you?
not enough of it. You know, you haven't narrowed it down enough.
What I heard was that the guy you got pulled over and you had like an ounce of pot right there, and
I got pulled over.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
And
go
the
ahead.
cop was like, What's that? Oh man, it's pot. I'm lost. I'm so fucking stuck. You were just honest with the guy and like talked your way out of it by just saying, look, if you're not a girl with big tits, being like brutally honest is your only chance of getting away with it. But then you said to the cop that we call it Jesus weed. It's homegrown. He goes, what's Jesus weed mean? He goes, you smoke it and you pray you get high. And then the guy said, all right, you guys are comedians. Open the trunk. If I don't find any more grass, I'm going to let you go. That doesn't ring a bell?
That does not, but
Legend.
so many stupid things happen that, but that's too good a story. I mean,
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say it didn't happen because
Yeah.
I want the story to keep getting
Yeah,
told.
that's a good story.
Well, Jackie was just telling us when he knew he had a drinking problem, and you
'cause
brought
we
up something.
We were talking about drinking. We used to drink on our way to go to drink. So if you're going to a bar or going to a gig or something like that, we would bring beer.
It was normal.
For the drive. It was normal to drive around
Yeah.
with a beer between your legs as you're driving and just drink, not thinking like, what the fuck am I going to do with this if I get pulled over?
Right.
Like, where am I going to put
I
this?
could drive along and take a beer and open it with another beer upside down.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
easily. I mean, that was
Yeah.
just,
Tell the story when you knew you had a drinking problem.
well, and that was probably years before. But anytime you're going out, we'd always want to be on time because we wouldn't want to, miss happy hour. And,
God forbid.
and I would always get the happy hour and then ask for, a couple of extra drinks so you'd have something, so you wouldn't have to wait for the waiter to come to the table and take your order. All these little tricks.
Yeah.
You thought they were tricks. But I would have a beer ready to go. I'd open a beer and when we were getting ready to leave. And very often your wife isn't ready. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I'm standing there sipping my beer, and she's not ready yet. And all of a sudden my beer is half gone. And I'm like, well, fuck, this isn't enough beer to get me somewhere. And I'm not going to bring an extra one in my pocket. I don't want to piss her off. So I would go downstairs and finish the beer I was drinking and put it in the refrigerator, the empty, because I'll take care of it later, and get another beer out. And I mean, she's 2 floors away, but just to be careful, I'd cough and pop the pop top and come up.
She wouldn't know you
so
went for
I'd
the
be on my
second
second
beer.
one,
Yeah.
and we'd be on the way. You know.
Oh God, damn.
And it was very funny because we never. I mean, every time you got done with dinner or whatever, and then they'd come around with the coffee. And I would never, ever have a cup of coffee.
No.
I would have another drink.
Yeah, what is that? You got to have
the
coffee now.
The last time I ever drank, I was at a christening in May of 2001. And we were at this christening, and the waitress came around, and it was a real low-level christening. So she had the coffee thing in one hand and a pitcher of beer in the other hand. Not the classiest joint, And she's coming around, and she's, filling up the coffee and filling people's beers. And I pushed my beer glass back and put my coffee cup in front of me. And Nancy looked at me like she was sitting with a fucking alien.
Yeah.
And she
who
said,
are you?
"What are you doing?" I said, "I'm done."
Wow.
Just like that?
She said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm done." And that was it. That was
Really?
it.
What clicked in
Like
your
the
head?
sight of the waitress and
I
the-
had gone to
He was done
Memphis.
drinking beer out of mugs. He started coffee cups.
I had gone to Memphis the week before, and we had gotten so drunk, and I just would spend the whole day just waiting for it to be 5 o'clock so I could start drinking. I was like, you know what? And I was off the Stern Show, and I had way too much fucking free time. I'm like, when are you going to not drink?
Yeah,
when
it's too
you have
easy.
to get up at 4:30 in the morning, you couldn't go. You'd still get pretty crazy pretty often, but. At least that was some kind of governor. I mean, that's the Stern Show saved my life. It was 15 years that I had to be somewhere every morning, But I just was done, and I have no idea how or why. I didn't go to AA or anything. And everybody said, "Well, then you didn't have a problem."
You
I'm like,
stopped on
"Trust
the
me, I
dime.
had a
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
problem."
And no big bottom. You didn't reach this point where it was like, oh, I gotta go.
Yeah.
You just decided at that moment that was it.
Well, we were at that party, but we were separated.
You took stock of yourself.
Yeah, no, well, I moved
Said,
into
"I
a
gotta
yourself
make
up by your
I
bootstraps.
moved to the house by myself. I quit drinking, got
Hit the high
divorced,
note.
quit the show. I mean, there was so much wrong that it was such a fucking major hiccup that who the fuck knew?
How long after you quit the show did you quit drinking?
What is it? A couple months?
Oh, was that
I quit in
close? Wow.
March.
Well,
but I
obvious.
knew I had to quit right away. And
Obviously, the show made you drink.
it's one of those things that I got divorced, and everybody, oh, Nancy left Jackie because he left the show. We were going to be split up years before that, but there was no way I was going to go through a divorce and be on the show.
Oh, my
I
God.
would have been
shit.
just too brutal. Hey, you getting any fresh pussy?
Yeah.
And
So when you
and
left
I know I had
Harry-
to quit, but that's a tough thing, and it's in the back of your mind. It's like the little guy back there going, one of these days, because I quit for a year, like in 1990 or something, and I said, I could quit any time. Now I know I could quit any time. I said, wait, Jackie, that was 10 fucking years ago.
Did you have withdrawals?
No, I didn't go through anything. Nothing.
You didn't have a problem then.
Yeah, but and that's what everybody says. And I'm like, all right, But when I tell myself I didn't have a problem, I say that's my way of trying to sneak myself back into.
Yeah. Just one beer, that's all.
It's so funny. I was at a New Year's Eve party a couple years after I quit, and I was at a New Year's Eve party out in the Midwest somewhere, and some girl was standing there, and everybody was drunk, and somebody took champagne. And she had a very low cut and a lot of cleavage, and somebody poured champagne down her cleavage without even thinking, not
is
going
wrong
for the
with-
booze. I licked the champagne between the tits just without even thinking, and every cell in my body is like, "Wow, we're drinking again! We're drinking again!" Because I wasn't thinking in terms of the booze; I was just being outrageous.
man.
It was like Popeye with the spinach, like,
Wow.
Fuck.
Shit.
But yeah, we always drank it,
Yeah, that was part of just driving around.
I had a 1961 Chrysler Imperial, which was the year of remember the fins got bigger and bigger and bigger, and that was when they topped out. It was just the ugliest, biggest baby blue car with the trunk was big enough that you could have a fucking orgy in it. and there was a back shelf, and we actually had a plastic bus box from Piping Rock Country Club there, and the thing it was a fancy car, and there was a thing. It was old, but it was a fancy car, and there was a thing in the back that pulled down an armrest, and we ripped out the leather and ripped a hole in the cardboard, and we'd put beer on ice in the bus box. We called it our James Bond. And we go out and park the car and drink, and then reach through the thing to get beer. And
Hey, you put your empties in there too?
No, toss them out the window.
Oh, toss them out the window. Yeah,
we were idiots.
So the beer would be in the trunk of the car, and you would be able to
we got pulled over one time. The cop was like, we're parking in the middle of nowhere, and where's the beer? And one of the guys freaked out and said it's in the back. And Bob Bishop, and the guy opened it, but you couldn't see it. The trunk was so big, and it was a shelf. He said, "What are you, a wise guy?" And there was no. It was like we got away with it once. Wow. It was like incredible. It's not a believable story, but if you see it, I never think nowadays. You got the internet. You could Google a 61 Chrysler Imperial and see how fucking huge.
That's one of the last things I would ever Google.
That would be on your list, Jimmy.
But I'm saying it's a real good thing for verifying stories,
Yeah.
But drinking and driving, of course.
It's what you think. Like I remember driving. I was going to the Patchogue Marina out there to catch a boat over to Fire Island, and I had a case of beer on my passenger seat. And I'm just taking cans from it, popping it, drinking them, and I got pulled over for speeding on the expressway. Oh. And the cop actually gave me a breathalyzer. He did? And I think I blew like a 0.7, and I think drunk legally was 1 at that.
Right.
It wasn't 0.8. And he goes, he goes, I could hold you here a little longer and make you do this again to see if, you've been drinking. He goes, but I'll let you go. Go ahead. And I had a case of beer in the passenger seat. I'm drinking as I'm speeding down the expressway. And he's like, all right, go ahead. Now forget about it.
Is the act of having beer on ice illegal in itself? Or do you have to be...
No, you can have it.
It can't be open.
In there. It just can't be an open container. And of course, I had that. I never gave thought to, like, all right, if it's empty, you could stash it under the seat or something. Right. But if you have half a beer and you get pulled over, where are you putting this? Oh. You just never thought about it. It was like, I won't get pulled over.
Yeah. In the 60s, it was crazy. I mean, they'd pull you over and you'd roll the window down and the cop go, oh, Jesus Christ, man.
What are you doing?
Can you get this thing home? It was unbelievable. I'm fine. Okay, good. Get the fuck out of here. Drive fast so you get there quick.
It wasn't even a law in the books until, like 25 years ago, right?
Yeah,
Before that?
I don't know if it was a law.
We got through the 80s, too, with
they just didn't give
some
a
crazy stuff. What did you have to do back then for them to
you
actually
really had to
bring in?
Yeah, you had to be, like, drunk and kill someone.
Just plowing over fucking groups of children.
Take a shot at Hoover.
You talk about
and even that, they're like, well, whatever.
You talk about letting you get away. I remember I came home from college one Christmas or one summer, and it was quarter to the drinking. The bars used to be open till 3, and in the late '60s, the bars were packed until they threw you out.
Oh, yeah,
Nowadays, I drive through Oyster Bay at 12 o'clock at night, and the place is on Friday. It's a ghost town. I'm like, what? Where's everybody? What's going on? And because in the old days, so here I come home from college, and it's quarter to 3, and we're at the Homestead in Oyster Bay. We're at the restaurant, and it's quarter to 3, and I said, hey, we better line them up. And they said, what are you talking about? And I said, come on, it's quarter to 3. You line up your drinks because the bar's going to close.
Yeah.
And they said, no. They changed the law. I said, what are you talking about? They changed the law till 4 o'clock. And I said, what fucking legislator sat there and said, all right, these guys get drunk till 3 in the morning. You know what? They do have an outside chance of making it home alive. Let's change the law till 4 o'clock in the morning.
That's true. It's absurd.
They moved it back a fucking hour. And they had to have changed. They changed the law.
Yeah, some of those laws, we always talk about the strippers. Yeah. Whenever you get strippers that, because they have full nude in some places, but Long Island, it's always the bottom and topless. You never see any pussy. Occasionally at some of the sleazier joints, but it's illegal and shit like that.
You got to go to Jersey.
Yeah. But they made a law, and you have to know when that law is made that it's made for good. Because there's not one guy that's going to run on the platform of, and we're going to get the fucking panties off of these strippers.
You're going to see some pussy if I'm elected.
Yeah. You better really think about those laws because there's no taking that one back.
It's gone forever.
It's gone. You're never seeing pussy on Long Island in a strip club. It just ain't going to happen because no politician can run on that platform.
And there's so many laws.
I vote for them.
There's laws like you can have full naked girls if you don't have boobs. booze. But if you have booze, you can't.
And then you can send people out to buy your own bottle of booze in some places.
Is it a bad thing that we can't see the pussies, though? Long Island strip clubs?
Yes, it is bad. I don't care. I would rather. I don't care.
There were some rough fucking strippers on Long Island.
The day shift on a week.
Fucking the Brass Monkey or fucking down at Frogs in Smithtown.
There's nobody in the first 3 rows. I
The girls would come home.
I don't want to get too close.
I'd cover my beer. I would put my hands over my beer. And it would be like I would go up on my elbows like I was getting closer to get a better look.
Really?
But I was covering the top of my beer because she was walking on the bar. And I didn't want any fucking crabs or whatever falling into
I
my
used to
beer.
order a beer in a clothespin.
Away from my
It was terrible.
Meat curtains.
These girls would go by. But it was always when I was broke, I'd go into a tit bar.
Grilled cheese and bologna.
Oh God!
And you'd have to put some money up. The beers were expensive and shit, but I didn't have a lot of money, so you'd have to sit next to the guy that had a stack of bills,
right?
Because the girls would get in front of him and do the fucking dance and shit, and you'd kind of. You sap off of him, sponge off of his dollars.
Sure.
Because you're seeing everything. I can give a shit if she's making eye contact with me. Who cares?
That's a very good point.
Long Island whore. Fucking Ronkonkoma. What's the name of that place? Bird's Place in Ronkonkoma.
That's where all the motorcycle guys went.
Yeah. Oh, and they would do anything there because they'd pull the fucking G-string aside, and just show fucking
Carousel,
Harry
right?
Bush. Carousel is still open.
Still,
is that right?
I've been down there a couple. I think the last time I was there, it was Christmas Eve at my aunt and uncle's house, and I was getting hammered there, and they live like off of like Cedar Road over there in Elwood, and I'm driving back home to Nassau County, and I'm like, I wonder if the Carousel's open. Christmas fucking Eve, they're open. I go in there, I'm half in the bag, Christmas Eve, and just to see who's in the strip club at Christmas Eve.
Sad strippers.
It's like,
You and a bunch of Jews.
Yes, exactly. Menorahs all over the place. Girls are sitting on menorahs.
Giving change of $1 back.
Yeah, she's got one of those ice cream man change dispensers. Could I have change?
Oh, talk about quick. Did I tell you the Hungry Bear story last time?
We'll make believe in here.
This is a horrible performance story. It's like 2 days before Christmas, and I used to play my guitar and tell my dirty jokes, and I was really horrible. I was trying to quit the band, but I didn't make the move to comedy yet, so I'm working at this place, the Hungry Bear, which is a single storefront in Huntington, and there's a Scottish bartender, and there's like 2 or 3 drunks at the bar, and I'm at the other end playing my songs and telling my dirty jokes, but it's like 2 days before Christmas. Anybody with any kind of family or heart at all is Christmas shopping and buying trees and doing everything. And here's a couple of lonely drunks and the bartender, and I'm at the other end, and I'm trying to be cheery, and I'm playing a song and telling a joke, playing a song and the guy says something to me, and I gave him the exact perfect straight line. I still want to shoot myself. I'm playing, singing, telling a joke, playing, singing, telling a joke. I'm in between jokes, and the bartender says, Jack, they want you outside. And I said, who? He said, everybody. Swear to God.
That's a good one. Softball.
I still don't like telling that story.
That's a great one.
That motherfucker.
Everybody.
What about the Tender Trap still open down the road there?
I think the Trap is still open
You ever go to the Trap?
next to the radiator place.
Those guys had it,
my
easy.
friend's diner.
They had it easy, man. Lunchtime at the Tender Trap right behind where they worked.
Yeah, it's nothing worse than walking out of a strip club when it's still light out, and you feel like Bela Lugosi. You're ready to.
You mean like you've been there all night through the morning?
No, lunchtime.
Like lunchtime. We used to go for work.
Oh.
Like we take lunch breaks and just like leave, go to the strip club, and then you realize like it's 3 in the afternoon. We've been there for 3 hours. We're hammered, but we got to go back to the job to pack the tools up. And you come out, and your pupils, you hear them slam shut.
Wow!
They're just fucking. You're kind of drunk.
What was the movie? Brew
Breaker.
Yeah.
Oh, when he got out of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was like getting out of the box.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
Solitary in the hole. That's what it was like, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to go to Scores with the Stern Show, and we go there like, at 11 o'clock after we got off the air sometimes, and you get really drunk and crazy and go carry on and just smell of stripper, and then you walk out and in the sun, it was just wrong.
Yeah,
it was just wrong.
Yeah, there's something just wrong about leaving when it's light out.
Being drunk and smelling like
But you just described our show. we talk about that. Yeah. We do all this unbelievable, like, you just know it's wrong, and it hits you when you go outside.
When you start walking to the parking garage, you go,
like, oh,
why was
you see a woman walking with a 3-year-old, hi, good morning.
Still have dried blood in your fingers.
We've had some stories, Jackie. We almost got fired 2 weeks after spending 2.5 years on the beach.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
We had a drunk, naked girl crying outside our studio on 57th Street. We were literally back on the job for only a few weeks. And Jimmy and I went to a diner afterwards, and he looks at me and he's like, what are we doing? What's wrong with us?
Well, wait a minute. Why was the girl crying? What had to?
It was two girls that came in with a band.
The band, it's smart on the band's part. They're like, hey, we're going to bring in some naked girls to do crazy shit if you allow us to come in and play a little music. You know the deal. You guys done that.
Yeah.
I fucked one of the girls without a bag. Asian chick. I took her into that room and I banged her without a bag. And the other one got really drunk and walked on 57th Street.
And we had a Jägermeister machine that worked well when we were at NEW. So we're like,
frozen Jaeger, man.
And after sitting out 2 years, 3 months, we're like, yeah, we should just bring back the Jägermeister machine.
Let's take right up where we left off.
And let's not learn anything from our fucking hiatus.
And then an ambulance show up, paramedic showed up.
Yeah. There was an ambulance. We had to bring girls through a back way to a loading dock, and because then the press
Didn't we
was
shove
on
the
to us.
wiffle ball bat up at their pussy too?
Oh,
well, up the asshole, but
yeah.
This was
like a
we were
rape.
barely back on the radio.
we sure were full of gusto.
And it goes back to the strip club story. It's like 9 in the morning. Normal people are going into the same building with their suits and ties to work, and there's a girl, no joke, completely naked, crying on the sidewalk.
Whoops. Great though.
But
it really
super
is.
radio.
Oh, but the girls were pretty fucked up before they got there.
Oh, yeah.
How do you think they felt?
were.
I had a bat shoved in my ass on a satellite radio show.
On a Tuesday.
That's humiliating.
On a Tuesday morning.
They're not even on the whole platform yet.
And then more humiliating, fucked by
Jackie, you ever...
and they weren't even in the band. They weren't even in the band. They were helping out.
Yes.
You ever have any of those? Oh, E-Rock's telling me it was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so we were back on for maybe a month and a half at that point.
What a bunch of assholes.
And we almost got fired. And the press was sniffing around because the call came on the radio, naked crying girl outside the studio.
Do you think you secretly wanted to be suspended again?
No, we were just
You missed doing the show,
yeah,
right?
we were excited.
We wanted
to pick
to
up where
jump in with both feet.
And it was satellite, so we're like, all right, we're going to show you what we can do with this shit.
Rape is good here.
I remember when you guys would be on the cover of the Daily News and the Post on a weekly basis. It was great. Those are great fucking shows, man.
Ralphie May saved our asses.
The cover of the Post.
Yeah, that was great. Unless I had to be the good thing that rhymed with Opie.
Oh.
I was always dopey. Opie and dopey, do it again. Like nothing rhymes with schmanthony.
Hack journalist.
Yeah. They had
Ocean
Opie
with
and
foam.
Dopey. Yeah, right. Yeah, right with foam, motherfucker. Put it in the drawer.
The other part of that story...
George has a mirror.
Sean and George is helping us out. The other part of that story, Ralphie May was in that day. You know, he was plugging a gig. And we were in deep shit, and the cop recognized Ralphie May, and Ralphie May was actually able to help us out a bit.
Instrumental, yeah.
He actually, really helped that day.
Really?
I'll never forget Ralphie May for that, man. Holy shit.
George fucked the stripper.
Is he the guy? Is he the You Go Now guy? The Chinese all you can eat, or is
John
that the other
Panette.
fat guy?
John Panette.
They would both hate you for
Otto.
mixing that up.
You hear what disappointment to your parents.
You hear what happened to Ralphie May in Guam?
What happened?
To Ralphie May in Guam?
They worship him.
They made him king.
He had a mirror. In a B-17 and dropped on his hands.
They started building settlements on him.
I claim you for the Queen of Spain.
He became an atoll.
Put a wiffle ball bat in his head.
We get any more fat jokes?
Yeah.
Why'd I go with the question there?
His blood type is ragu.
Ralphie's in Guam with pot on him and decides it's a good idea to pet police dogs at the airport.
Oh, my God.
It's one of the greatest stories to come out in years.
When?
You don't know that story either?
Pet the police dog,
You must have
too?
been doing Leno when we brought it up.
Yeah.
2 months ago, he got arrested in Guam because he had pot on him, and he sees a cute dog and decides to pet the fucking dog
That's
at the
a
airport.
stupid
How dumb
man.
is that?
That is beautiful.
It's so dumb. We're thinking he did it on purpose.
How long was he in jail for?
I don't know how it all ended. Do you know, Erod?
Blind policeman.
Yeah, we're looking it up right now. But
Wow, I didn't hear that.
That is stupid.
Yeah, what a dope.
He's going to be on the show locked up obese.
Did you guys ever feel like you were going to get fired and you didn't?
Fat.
Were you skated one?
Well, you know what? I was too low level. You know what I mean? The firing.
No, but you're in the
No,
on
I
the
mean-
show and you're like, holy shit, this can't be good.
You know, like the
But Howard-
FCC stuff that happened, you know, that was always fun because the FCC stuff would happen afterwards, and it was nothing like seeing your jokes in a law brief.
Those are the
We
funniest.
talk about that.
When you read what you said completely out of context.
The first thing that we got the FCC thing for, they'd say, here, you should read this. You know, we've been cited. And the first thing was Susan Berserkowitz. Me and Fred wrote the song, I Gotta Be Me, but it was I Love Sodomy. And it was like, you know, down on my knees,
shoehorning.
begging you, please, I love sodomy. And it's typed out in a lawyer brief, and you just piss yourself.
Yeah.
It's hysterical.
That's in a law book somewhere now.
Yeah, when you see your name and then your comments, and you're like, did I say that?
Wow.
Oof.
You would get
Sounds
and you would get
rude.
ideas from all the other assholes getting in trouble with the
Yeah.
FCC. It's like we're not learning anything. We're gonna fucking steal that fucking line.
It's so crazy.
The FCC can still tamper with you even though you're allowed to curse on radio. There's
No,
still
on satellite they can't.
they can't.
No.
You could say anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's
pretty
a whole
much.
different world, though. The FCC, I don't worry about at all. Even if I was on regular radio, it's the people running the radio
Yeah,
stations.
you
I
can't
worry about
incite
way
things.
more than the FCC.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The special interest groups and all the fucking pussies that run the radio stations.
Yeah, you don't want to incite
way
the
worse,
wrong people. You know?
Way worse than the FCC.
Really?
Yeah, at the end of our careers on commercial radio, that was a joke. The FCC, we didn't worry
Yeah,
about the
FCC didn't matter.
You can say cunt, but you can't say Jesus. You know?
We weren't.
Yeah,
we were worried
yeah.
about the Asian special interest groups and all that. Those were the ones getting people fired, not the FCC. So whatever.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh God.
We don't need that type of humor anyway, the type that denigrates other people. There's a lot of ways to have
please.
fun.
If you have to do that,
Trash talking.
Yeah, we don't need that type of stuff.
No.
you know, I Michigan State. I was a student assistant for a while, which meant you led they had the lectures on the television in the classrooms because it was such a huge university, and you'd be in charge of plugging in the television, turning on the show, you know, with the professors doing the main lecture, and then you'd turn off the TV and lead the discussions at the end. So the first day of class, everybody has to hand in their little thing, their name, and blah, 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 blah. So this one guy, and I never got to meet the guy, but it said name, address, major, blah, 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 and what's your goal in life, you know, stuff like that. So the guy's name and address, and says, what's your major? And he says, it's none of your business. And then I'll never forget, it said, what's your goal in life? He said, I want to rid the world of racial prejudice and chinks.
Nice.
I gave that to Peter Bales. He's been using his act for 30 years. Racial prejudice and chinks. It's so stupid.
So Otto, very excited about his Stress Factory gig starting tonight. 2 shows tomorrow and 2 shows Saturday with the judging of the Halloween costume contest.
Yeah. Hey, so usually he would give me a Sunday when the next day was a legal holiday. He always used me for these odd nights, but he finally I go, why can't you just give me a fucking weekend like any other stand-up? Why am I this aberration? You know, every comedian I've worked with in the last 15 years has used the word cunt and cocksucker.
Right.
The MC uses it. You know, but you know, why am I like this freak that, you know, can't work?
Yeah.
Where I want to, you know, same thing at Caroline's. Lewis always has me doing some weird shit like I have to host or something. Just give me a weekend, put 2 guys before me, and let me do my act.
Do your
fucking deal.
It's about fucking time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Vinny is weird. I don't know.
He's a weird guy.
Yeah.
But if you show up like that with that red pen in your pocket, you're going to show them that you mean business. I've been staring at that for 2 hours.
Nah, a politician gave this to me on the platform coming in.
Who? McGreevy, he said, pull this out of my asshole, sir.
I got an appointment.
Jesus.
Never old though.
Don't never live that down, Willie.
No.
That pen's been bothering me for
Sodomite. Really? Does it?
What? I'm bothered by
So
the
I always
passport.
write ideas down.
It's
Like
so prominent.
when you guys like were talking and on the way in, I'm trying to like think of shit. And I'm going to bring it up 3 hours later.
What'd you have, though?
Wait,
Funny
no,
now
now you got
Nothing.
it. Now you
I
got to
didn't
read
let
it.
it bother me. I went back an hour. I didn't
Otto, come on. Now you got to read it.
Now it's funny.
on, now
Now
it's funny.
I was going to talk about I have new management now, my friend James D. Benedetto, and I said the first thing I want to get on the Jerry Lewis telethon because, you know, Jerry's getting up there, and I grew up on his movies, and he said to me, I couldn't get you on a telethon even if you had the disease.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Come on, you gotta have what else?
Come on.
Otto.
Share.
I was
like
going to
Shy
talk
Otto.
about the bathroom tiles and Trish and her fucking thing. Legalization of pot. Oh, Pepperidge Farm is going to start growing pot when they legalize pot and do commercials for Pepperidge Farm. Remember those good J's your mom used to roll when you were a kid? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Brings you Acapulco Gold. I won't be doing that this weekend.
Why? You should do that right before the Halloween contest.
Yeah. Oh, your mother's cunt. Larry! Larry!
Gonna find you bread jokes dead in the hallway, Larry.
It stinks when I try and write something new, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't.
That's great.
That was There's nothing better than
Jew with a pen and a passport.
I love how Otto gets. He's gonna leave. That's why he's got the.
Did you see when he was like about halfway into the Pepperidge Farm thing? He just wanted to leave.
Lost
He
confidence.
wanted to
I
fucking
know.
leave.
That's it.
And it was hysterical.
I'll be on the next elevator to the lobby.
When a joke bombs, he leaves the country.
I know.
Passport.
There's a train leaving for New Brunswick in 10 minutes. Be under it.
My favorite part was he said, unprepared Jew with a pen and a passport.
I name names.
Oh, that pen makes me sick.
I
It's been
turned it
enraging me
around
for
so
3 hours.
Vote for me.
pocket protector.
You know, you
Stabbed him in
get
the
some-
throat.
everything-
Oh, here's the other joke. You talking about the girl with the braces, Charlie. Something about the
porn
stripper.
chick,
yeah. The porn-
I was going to say, if you get a blowjob from a girl with braces, your cock will look like a totem pole. I came up with that in the car, and she was like, "All right, shut up. You shut up."
Good.
Make you cry.
Yeah, I'll make you cry.
Does she still laugh at your stuff, Otto? Or
I make her laugh all the
that's
time,
good.
but yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's hard to the act, though, because the chicks see the act after a while.
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
I don't. When she's at a show, I feel like I'm gonna like hold back on saying something really heinous. I'll edit myself somehow, even though she knows I don't mean what I say.
Right.
I'm gonna somehow think about her sensibility, and it'll affect me somehow. You know.
That's wonderful.
Very depressing.
That was very deep.
Yeah.
You don't have a razor on you.
No.
And Jackie's going to be at Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club, Staten Island. One show Saturday, the 30th.
I got to tell you, it ggets to the point where like every word is like Niagara Falls. Slowly I turn. You talk about tiles at Michigan State in the bathroom in the lobby. You know those. You know the white 4-inch tiles in the bathroom, and you go in to take a crap, and way down in the grout between two of the tiles was little tiny letters, and I laughed at this for fucking 10 years. Here's all the tiles, and way down in the grout between the tiles, you bent over, and it said, "You are now shitting at a 45-degree angle." It's just fucking funny every time. Every time I hear the word tiles, I just fucking smile. It's just so stupid.
One of those dopey things. I remember the first time, and it's an old thing, but the first time I ever was standing at a urinal pissing and saw "Don't look up here, the joke's in your hand."
Funny every time.
I was fucking laughing so hard, man.
And now this is a guy who doesn't know how to follow up a story with a good story. I was pissing one time, and there was like a bunch of dicks and stuff on the wall. One guy who has an awful story of everybody's great stories.
Is that kind of a lost art? Like, you go into bathrooms. These
Some
days,
guy did a
you don't
book on
really see
graffiti in
a lot
bathroom.
of,
Yeah, just
a lot of
dicks.
fuck yous. This one sucks dick, and
A lot
Yeah.
of penises.
you know, shit. Now that you get brought up on fucking human resources charges if you're if you write something about some broad.
I'm black with 12 inches. Great. How big's your cock? You know?
Yeah. Oh, you get some racist shit, and then it's like, "Fuck you, motherfucker! I'll kick your ass." It was like a battle.
Right.
Would be.
It was the original
written out.
blog.
yeah,
It's
right.
the original blogging. All
Yeah, that
the
was
different
blogging.
handwriting, different.
That's funny.
That was your
That's really
blog.
funny. It's exactly
your
what
web
it is.
page is a fucking partition in a
Exactly.
shitter.
Hey, there's a hole drilled in the middle of my webpage.
Yeah.
Meet me here at 4 p.m. Friday.
Julio sucks. Shit like that, right?
Yeah, someone did a book called, I think, Bathroom Art or something, where they had all photos of graffiti in bathrooms.
So was great.
Genius.
Oh, so was great.
What a
Yeah, I saw a
brilliant
lot
idea.
in like some of the clubs when you like backstage at in the dressing room at CBGB's and shit like that. It was just a mess of graffiti and
But
a lot of the
sometimes
clubs,
it's too artsy and too smart. Like, there's
I
nothing
don't
like
want
being
that.
in a truck stop where it's really written by fucking morons. You know? Oh, I really need to take this shit. Oh, so is your mom. You know, it's like just down home.
No thought to it.
No, nothing.
Hey, we got someone who wants to stump the joke man.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, this is Jackie's big bit here. Johnny Cleveland, you want to stump the joke man?
Yeah, what's up, guys? I want to toss one out to Jackie here.
Toss one out.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I'm going to toss it. Yeah. Hey, what do you call a fat broad with breast cancer?
A fat broad with breast cancer. I don't know.
Voluptuous.
What's that? We heard you.
We heard
It's
you.
not just me.
Funny.
What's that, sir?
It's not funny.
Let's try another one because the fat fuck in the other room didn't know what we were doing.
You dummy.
Piece of shit.
E-Rock, were you not paying attention?
There was no one on the phone, so I was checking the phone.
Oh,
Next
that's
time
good.
I catch you napping at the board.
I'm going to take a personal interest in making the listeners suffer.
Worst
I
timing.
want you to take a look at that fat piece of shit.
Worst timing ever. Ever on this
horrible.
show.
I have no
Worst
idea
ti-
what's going on.
Exactly.
Opie and Anthony. This is the Opie and Anthony Show.